Actually, the brief that was originally given to us was that we should focus on social science perspectives, and we are in a minority in that sense in this audience. But also, as Rakesh introduced me, I am known as the go-to person for studying vulnerability, so I will spend 1 or 2 minutes on that. That's something I have to cover. At the same time, based on the fieldwork we have carried out, we also wanted to focus on what are the actual consequences of violations. We've been talking about violations since yesterday, but what is actually the implication of that? What are the consequences for habitats, for biodiversity, for human populations is something we'll just give you a few examples of. I'll begin by saying that, the question that Dr. Kantawala raised yesterday was a very fundamental question about what is it that CRZ is actually for, and I think that's not actually been adequately debated, not just here but in the country in general. Whether CRZ is supposed to protect the environment or habitat or human populations, is it an urban planning issue? Nothing is very clear. Okay, and therefore, I think it's important that we look at some of the important social science planning issues. There's not enough time, I'm just going to flag some of these issues so that whoever is interested can take up these issues and incorporate them into their own research. So the question of why regulate is something that's not been adequately answered, as I said. And it's also very important that studying coastal areas, like studying climate change, is something that has to be done by multidisciplinary teams. There's not enough disciplinary expertise within one particular discipline to assess the implications of these, and therefore meetings like these are very important. So there have been all kinds of debates which have become implicated in the coastal zone literature, development versus environment, biodiversity versus urbanization, tourism, ecology, livelihoods, and so on. And all of this is made more complicated because of the fact that in India, as was pointed out, most densely populated cities in India are located in the coast, and these are some of the most economically dynamic regions in the country, and globally linked as well. So any adverse consequence for the coastal areas is going to have immense human impact, and therefore it's important that we look at some of the social issues as well. So I start with vulnerability because that's what I've been working on for a very long time. And one of the things that I wanted to flag here is that we have found in our studies both in India and in other parts of Asia that the way in which we look at risk and vulnerability here has to be different from the way in which it has been conceptualized in the Western world, because there is currently a huge focus on individuals, whereas here we see that it is communities, groups, women as groups, castes, people linked to particular occupations, livelihoods, all of them tend to be affected in similar ways. So this community approach is something that is very important for us in assessing vulnerability, and this is where the role of the state in both assessing and mitigating vulnerability is something that becomes very important. It cannot just be left to the market forces or to NGOs or to a few individuals. What we've also found is that coastal areas are, we know, ecologically very fragile. In that sense, they're much more exposed to sea level, sea rise and coastal erosion and so on. But we also find, and there are many studies which support this, including our own, that people who are socially marginal, the poor, the lower castes, minorities, these are people who tend to actually be located in these ecologically fragile areas also, and therefore there is a kind of double vulnerability where people who are already pushed to the margins are further affected by various disturbances to the coastal environment. And the third issue on the vulnerability which I wish to flag is the dilemma of infrastructure development. Again, our own studies in climate change have shown that infrastructure is extremely important to mitigate the impact of climate change. Where there is storm surge, cyclones and storms and so on, infrastructure such as roads, warning systems, evacuation mechanisms, shelters are extremely important. But all of these have to be located in coastal zones. So on the one hand, we need this infrastructure. On the other hand, this infrastructure is also displacing people, is also causing disturbance to the coastal environment. So it's a dilemma that needs to be addressed by the community of people working on coastal zones. The second issue broad issue that I wish to flag is on governance. And first, problem here is that we have multiple agencies in planning, implementation, disaster management. Taking Mumbai as an example, there's BMC, there's MMRDA, there's MRPDA, there's CZMP. There are so many agencies involved in these, there is no clarity on who is to do what, and there's no centralized planning on dealing with coastal issues. And this especially becomes important as we saw in the 2005 floods in Mumbai. The disaster management was a huge failure. But we also see similar kinds of problems in the various plans. We've been talking about DPs for the last 2 days, or even the slum rehabilitation schemes, or solid waste management, water, transport. There is some kind of an invisibility of the CRZ issues in each of these plans. It's almost by default, we have to get their permission, so we'll go there. But we don't consider it in the planning process itself for all of these kinds of issues. And the third issue is a theoretical issue, which I think is very important, which is the principal agent problem about the principal, which in this case is the state, addressing the interests of the populations, which includes industry, which includes fishing community, which includes the common people at large. The problem here is that the agent is also multiple. The agent also includes the environment, the agent also includes nature, the agent includes different kinds of groups, and so the principal agent problem cannot be resolved through simple laws or by setting up 1 or 2 institutions. So institutional complexity is something that is called for, and that is something again we have not paid enough attention to despite 25 amendments to the CRZ rules over the last 20 years. And there is also the problem of moral hazard, where as you mentioned earlier, the sins of some people affect somebody else. So there are certain people whose activities create risk for somebody else. Now, how do you address these? Who compensates? It also leads to the polluter principle. Somebody pollutes, somebody else is at risk because of that. So these kinds of moral hazard problems also need institutional solutions. The question of ethnic inequality, again, I think I'm running out of time because I have to give some time to him. One thing I want to say here is that one should not adopt a simplistic approach here in terms of rich and poor and so on. The CRZ 2011, for instance, says that slum rehabilitation housing can be located within 200 meters of the high tide line. So it's actually creating conflicts between the non-coastal and the coastal population. So there are new kinds of conflicts among the poor which are being engendered by the CRZ regulations, and that is something, again, which is necessary to be addressed. Since this is one of the areas I work on, I also want to mention that for a very long time, coastal areas, beaches, the sea itself, the ocean, all of these have been commons, and there have been customary laws in place to manage these commons. This has also created what Gareth Hardin refers to as the tragedy of the commons, and trawlers is a very good example of that. So there has been over-exploitation. At the same time, we've also had customary rules like the monsoon fishing ban in Mumbai. So perhaps there is a need to look at CRZ in terms of the commons regulations, like the Nobel Prize winner Elinor Ostrom talks about nested enterprises. So can we have community level management at the level of a neighborhood, at the level of a kolivada, a village, and then there are some meso level regulations that are required at the level of a city, and then at higher levels of the ecosystem itself. So those kinds of innovative thinking are also required, because what we are essentially dealing with are commons when we talk about coastal areas. I think Rishi is going to talk about the 74th Amendment, so I won't talk about that here. That's almost been completely avoided when we talk of CRZ implementation. I think that's all that I had to say. Those 4 or 5 years issues of governance that I wanted to highlight, and the impact of violations in Mumbai. And Hemant has done a very detailed study of several locations. He will present that.
Some examples like which are reported violations like Excelworld Amusement Park at Gorai and thermal power plant. That amusement park has destroyed the 700 acres of mangrove land, which is important for the fishing community as well and environment. There are thermal power plant at Dahanu and Warli Bandra ceiling bridge in Mumbai, which is affecting to the fishing community as well as the environment also. Some areas which I have covered, like the Badwar Park upper area in Nariman Point, where in 1965 to 66 government has tried to reclaim that area and constructed the commercial buildings, where fishing community was totally dependent on that sea coastal area. As the protest of that reclamation, that fishing community tried to shift their homes at coastal area, and now that is situated as a Badwar Park. There is encroachment by migrant people like Garib Janta Nagar and other Mahatma Phule Nagar near the seashore area, which is polluting, and that became a dump yard for their debris and leads the pollution of seawater, which is stop the fish breeding as well. This is the CRZ violation of CPRA garden, which is established in Parade Residential Association. They have constructed the garden, which was earlier here the mangroves, but they have destroyed that mangroves, and 60 meters they have increased the reclaimed that area, and they have constructed the garden there in the name of beautification of coastal area. So that problem is leading to the water pollution, and it's forcing to small fishermen to go and catch deep fish, which they don't have the capacity to go and catch the fish in the deep water. Fishermen finding hard to catch fish even on the seashore also. Earlier they were getting without net fish, but now they are not getting with net also. And their smaller nets are getting entangled by trawler owners. And there is no boundary declared by government or any. After 12 nautical miles, anyone can catch the fish, and they are exploiting the small fishermen. As I said, that in the name of beautification, that CPRA group, which is the rich elite group, which wants to be capture that area, they try to construct the garden there. There are some environmental damages, like due to cutting of mangroves, the ecology is being destroyed. Another area is the Mulund-Thane belt, which is declared as an important bird area. More than 60,000 birds are annually visiting that place. But the important thing is that land is, this area is 137 acre of land. One SEZ proposal SEZ is coming to take place there. There the important thing is that land is reclassified under CRZ 1 and CRZ 3. According to the Thane Municipal Corporation, it is in CRZ 1 area. According to the Mumbai Municipal Corporation, it is in CRZ 3 area. When the environmentalist has filed the cases, so what the Thane Municipality did, they have did their CRZ 1 area as a CRZ 3 area. Means in CRZ 1 area they cannot construct anything. So in CRZ 3 area that is permissible. It is a dumping of solid waste on nearby mangroves by MCGM also. The impact again main water pollution, that outlet of sewage pipeline directly leaking to the seawater. Polluted water leads to increase of mosquitoes, not fishes. And fishermen are very getting difficult to catch the fishes in that water. Decrease in species of fishes, like earlier they were getting various type of fishes like kala fish, jitadi and others, but now they are catching fish. Now snipper and other species are also not more to be found. Another area is the Chimbai Koliwada, which is a 1 kilometer stretch between the Joggers Park and the Bandra Bandstand. 80% of population is a small fishermen. There are also violations by builders and constructors. They are violating the CRZ 1 area. There are 2-3 story buildings in CRZ 1 area since 7 years, where the FSI is 2.5, and that is beautification project also is there. This is proposal by DMC, 4 crore beautification plan, where the people doesn't have land to sell the fishes and do other activities on the seashore area. No land is available there. Taken over by some allied group also, ALM, like Advanced Legislative Management Society, and BMC also. There is no land available for drying area. One area is available there for the drying fishes and doing other activities, but that area is also reserved for beautification plan. So there also fishing community cannot do their activities. And here we can see the fight between small fishermen and the elite group. Other area is the Sevri Creek, where Sevri Creek is declared as a mangrove park by Bombay Port Trust in 1996. Was supposed to develop the area and for mangroves and flamingo habitats. This park consists of 15 acres of mangrove, but the reality is that 30 acres of mangrove completely wiped out, and entire belt it is in danger of getting destroyed. The causes the proper location and storage of cooking coal in the immediate locality. You can see it in picture that is declared by government, and mangroves are going to destroy there. That cooking coal mines, dust and all the thing is coming to seashore area is getting damaged, and flamingos are also dying. The impact again, water pollution, the discharge from Bombay Port Trust include directly dumped into the water, and due to this mangroves are drying. In decrease in fishing activity, there were also earlier various type of species of fish they were catching, but now they are catching only crabs. There is also a conflict between fisher community from this side to that side. All the area is polluted. Construction and encroachments are taking place there. So as all of you know that the importance of mangroves, it's a natural and renewable resource. It's a called deep buffer zone also between land and sea, protect the coast and erosion. That the fishing community, they are catching the fish in a small quantity. Monsoon fish catching is banned. In that duration, they are maintaining the species of fishes. Size of net is used small. Mangroves are not cut down ruthlessly by them, and follow some unwritten law that they will not use the others area to catch the fishes. The role of MCZMA and BMC against in 2009, 24 complaints were registered, and MCZMA had issued a letter to concerned authority. No one complaint was taken action against any violations. In 2010, there were 42 complaints. Only 10 complaints were under directive process. In 2011, there were 99 complaints. Only 3 complaints were MCZMA stopped over, and 20 complaints were considered for meeting of MCZMA. There is no ICZMA plan done by MCZMA. At the conclusion, you can say that the objective of CRZ are not fulfilled. Enforcement agencies have been extremely apathic with implementation of CRZ. It deliberately ignores the issues of public participation. So many areas in Mumbai are polluted by projects and leading of lack of fishes. Government tries, it looks like the government tries to satisfy the builder lobby, fishing community, and the environmentalists through CRZ notification. Environmentalist concern is to save the and preserve biodiversity of coastal area rather than livelihood of fishing community. This lack of concern for dependent communities is leading to the growing commercial exploitation and reduction in the biodiversity. It also has the implication for local participation in biodiversity and mangrove sustainability issues. So there are several institutions which are responsible for the agencies for the CRZ implementations, which are functioning separately. So if the state is serious about environmental protection of coastal areas, it is time that the fishing communities are made integrated stakeholders in CRZ implementation, such that livelihood issues and ecosystem conservation can both be effectively addressed. Thank you.